That is Rico Mukherjee. I'm Tony Altieri. Welcome to the DFS Jags Daily Fantasy Golf Show as we break down the 2022 Wyndham Championship, the last leg of the PGA regular season before we get into the FedEx Cup playoffs. Just a reminder, like, comment, and subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel. It goes a long way to helping us promote the show, keeps all this stuff totally free, and we get to do badass giveaways. And spoiler alert, speaking of badass giveaways, we've got a big one tonight. And Rick, we have a new sponsor, dude. Like, somebody actually wants to advertise and have us promote their product on our show, which is awesome. Auto, that's spelled O-R-T-O. It's the most comprehensive VIN level auto history reporting and evaluation tool on the market. So here is a quick word from our newest sponsor and partner, Auto.
40% of the cars on the road hold a hidden history. With the Auto app, you simply photograph any car, and using our AI license plate recognition technology, you'll instantly have accident, sales, and owner data from multiple sources at your fingertips. If you work in the car industry or are simply buying a used car, use Auto to get the full picture. Search Auto, spelled O-R-T-O, on the App Store.
We're proud to have Auto as a sponsor of the DFS Jags show and the Nickel City Mafia channel. So whether you're shopping for a new or used vehicle, trying to find out what your trade-in is worth, or maybe just want to know what that creepy van sitting at the end of your street is doing there, Auto is a great way to do that. Protect yourself and your pocketbook with Auto, the most comprehensive VIN history reporting and valuation tool in the marketplace. Available today in the App Store. It's already got 1 million downloads. It's totally free. You get 15 free lookups. So download Auto today. Rick, I've used the product. I know the guys at Auto really well. Tom's a great guy, and I'm excited that they've decided to partner with us. But they've also got a giveaway this week, dude, and it's the biggest giveaway that basically we've ever had in the show. I think we've had a couple of them, but this is by far the biggest one. Our friends at Auto, yes, spelled O-R-T-O, will be giving away 2 tickets to the Bills and Titans Monday night game on September 14th in Buffalo, New York, plus a $100 Visa gift card. In order to enter, all you have to do is comment on the video. Like, tell us who your favorite 6K play is, who your one and done pick is, maybe ask Rick for some dental advice. I don't know. Leave a comment, right? Like, that's all you got to do. But here's the key. The key is you got to be a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber and you leave a comment like, hey, I'm sorry, you're not entered. So smash the subscribe button, leave a comment, and you will be entered to win the 2 tickets to the Bills-Titans game on September 14th, the Monday night game in Buffalo, New York. We're not paying for airfare or any of that stuff, but still, I mean, it's, hey, it's Monday night. It's the Bills. It's the Titans. It's a big game. I mean, Rick, you can't do much better than that.
No, man. If you're part of the Nickel City Mafia crew, you're already probably a Bills fan, so it's a good chance to win some free tickets to a Monday night game. And you literally just have to click 2 buttons to get entered in the chance to win 2 tickets. So, like Tony said, there's a big red subscribe button right below me on YouTube. All you got to do is subscribe to Nickel City Mafia. One important thing is you got to make sure that your subscription to Nickel City Mafia is public. So we got to know who you are. So you got to make sure that there's a little link in the description of the video that tells you how to make your subscription public. So just to make sure that we know here at Nickel City Mafia who you are, make sure you subscribe so Mike knows who you are, and then leave a comment in the video below here. Just tell us anything about golf. Tell us who your favorite golfer is. Tell us who your favorite DFS play, whatever you need to do, something related to golf, and you will be entered in the draw to win 2 tickets to that Monday night game for the Bills and the Titans. Also, we started a Discord channel for Nickel City Mafia. We got some traction on that last week. We got I think 15 to 20 new people that joined. So if you want to join in and have us chat during the week, talking about golf and fantasy football and the Buffalo Bills, we are there to chat about it. I write a nice little tidbit on Wednesdays that gives an update on the weather, who my core plays are, who my favorite ownership fades are, stuff like that. I just write a nice little, I guess you could say, article on the Discord. So if you want the latest things of what I'm thinking about, because we do run the show on Monday, so things do change between Monday and Wednesday, I do put that on the Discord. The description to the link to join the Discord is on the description of this video, which also has the link for the sponsor Auto, and it also has the link to show you how to make your subscriptions public. So do all that. Pretty easy stuff. Get entered in the draw to win those 2 tickets. Join our Discord. Be part of our community, man. And we can talk about how Tony Finau is a beast.
Oh, dude, he is a full-on wagon. That's what I text you, man. This dude is just – he's become, I think, what we all thought he would be like 5 years ago when he burst on the PGA scene, and he's playing great. He's one of my favorite golfers, and it's a bummer because I have to admit, as much as I enjoy watching him win, I'd feel much better if I actually had money on him to win these tournaments.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, you know, where you and I kind of live betting wise is when you get into those odds that are over 20-1, like that 20 to 60 is kind of where like our main bets are. And when we're putting the most amount of our money and a lot of our, you know, our DFS plays come from, and the winners by and large have been coming like less than 25-1. A lot of times it's the favorite in the field. So, you know, unfortunately for me, Finau at 18-1 and Finau at 14-1, it's just a place I can't get down.
Yeah, it's really tough in these weak fields when there's guys like Cantlay and Finau and you know these and Cam Young who are like head and shoulders like above like the rest of the field when it comes to talent wise, and we just can't get a good number in them. Like these guys are elite players, so they're going to have lower odds at major championships and big tournaments when there's you know Scheffler and Rahm and these kind of names in the field. But in these weak field tournaments, we just can't get a good number on them. That's why when the last win that I had was Cam Smith, who's an elite golfer at the Open, and I got him at a great number. I think at like 28 or 30-1 or something like that. So yeah, that's why it's always easier to bet like those major championships, in my opinion, because we get good value. But yeah, man, when Tony Finau wins at 13 or 14-1 or whatever he is, he's just not going to get a bet from us, and that's just not how you bet when it comes to golf. And I know it's easy for some casual bettors to be like, "Oh my God, he's the best player in the field. Why don't you bet him?" Long-term wise, it's never going to be a good prospect for you to bet those guys because you're not going to get a good return on your investment. And like you said, that's where we live, man. 20 to 61. But Finau, man, just mowing down the competition. I don't know if it's a product of a lot of these names that have gone on to live that aren't in the field anymore. So I don't know. It's because is Bryson not in the field? Is DJ not in the field? And this is why Tony Finau is all of a sudden winning? I don't know. Or is he just like on fire? I like to think it's the latter because Tony's been on the precipice of, you know, having these floodgates open per se for a really long time. So it's really not surprising to me that he's winning. But I don't know if it's because there's a lot of bigger names that usually play this event that didn't play it this year or whatever the situation is. But him and Cantlay were the class of the field and they finished 1-2. Cam Young was another class of the field. He finished 1-2. And then another popular guy last week, man, like the guy that we played heavily in DraftKings, Taylor Pendrith, and who you bet and stuff like that. He was, you know, T2 also. He played great all week. I, you know, put a dumb live bet on him on Friday when he was on this birdie streak. I was like, man, there's
full on
FOMO. I didn't want to miss out on the Pendrith win, but yeah, he's a solid golfer, man. He just mashes the ball off the tee. I'm really happy to see him doing well, and it was a good event. I actually enjoyed this event. I sometimes every once in a while I like the birdie shootout. It's kind of fun to watch, but overall pretty good event. And Tony's just on another playing field right now, and I'm really excited to see what he does in the FedEx Cup playoffs in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you know, since, you know, not to belabor the Tony Finau point, but since basically the Mexico Open where he finished second, he's been gaining consistently in basically all major categories. But the biggest difference has been the putter. Prior to that, when he had been struggling, like he had been losing 2, 3, 4 strokes putting versus the field consistently, you know, week after week. And all of a sudden, basically from Mexico, where he goes from losing 2 strokes, from that point on, he's basically gaining with the putter every single week. The ball striking was there. We just needed to see the putter flip. And obviously the results when you take an elite ball striker, especially somebody with the distance advantage like Finau has, and then all of a sudden he starts hitting basically every 7 to 10 footer, like that's a recipe for a guy to go on a run. And that's exactly what we've done. It's really easy to sit here, right, 2 weeks after the fact and be like, well, no shit, he won twice. But at the same point in time, like, you know, the metrics had all been lining up, and it's something that you hear talked about on this show and then multiple shows out there in the community is just you're waiting for that guy's putter to flip. That's why we always talk about ball strikers approach off the tee, because there can be those weeks or those runs where all of a sudden guys get hot putters and they just start winning in bunches. And Finau's the perfect example of that. The last time we saw that was, you know, Patrick Cantlay when he went back-to-back in the playoffs. And really before that, we hadn't seen a guy win back-to-back weeks in quite some time. I think it was like Brendan Todd,
yeah,
years ago. Yeah. So, you know, it's just one of those areas where, again, Monday morning quarterbacking, it's really easy to say like, oh yeah, Finau's a wagon. The putter flipped, he's winning, ball striking's there. But, kudos to him. And obviously, like you said, basically all the guys we talked about at the top of the board, a lot of the chalk, all those guys hit last week, including Pendrith. He was, I think, 5th in your model that you had mentioned, which was heavily weighted towards off the tee and putting. So no big surprise. It played out the way that we thought. Finau ended coming up with the win. Pendrith took second. Cantlay was second. Cam Young was right there. And so it worked out the way that we thought. We didn't have a Finau ticket. So that's the only bummer. From a DFS, like DraftKings perspective, it was a pretty good week for me. Like, I had a decent week. I text you guys, I had 0-6-6, but I had multiple lineups that were like Finau, Cantlay, Pendrith, or Finau, Young, Pendrith. Like, so I was well positioned. I had some good choices. God, Grayson Sigg and Chesson Headley killed me though, dude. Those two guys single-handedly, like, knife in the back, twisting it to miss the cut. The other guy that hurt was Kuchar. I had a sneaky Kuchar play. He's 3 under going into Friday, and then he shoots +2 to miss the cut. So it was a bummer, but still ended up breaking out even on a DraftKings perspective. And like I said, enjoyed the Finau win.
Yeah. My knife in the back was Nick Hardy last week, man. My main lineup was solid, man. I had Cantlay, Pendrith, Stallings, like Svensson, a good lineup. And then at the bottom of my lineup, I instead of going to someone like Lee Hodges, who I really liked at 7K, I thought Nick Hardy was playing good enough to play well. And then he was -1 after Thursday, and all he needed to do was shoot -2 on Friday to make the cut and give me a 6-6 on my main lineup. But he didn't. He started off double on his first 2 holes, and he just couldn't recover after that. So that really stuck. From that turn from my week from a really positive week to kind of like a small loss kind of week. I did have a nice Sunday showdown week this week. So I did make a little bit of profit on Sunday, which kind of saved my week when it comes to DK. So that was nice. And then overall, I mean, it was an okay week. I obviously didn't have the Finau ticket, but DraftKings was whatever. It's time to move on to the Wyndham and do what we do. Just the greatest thing about DraftKings for me is that, like, even on like bad weeks when you got like a 5 of 6 or 4 of 6, you still have a chance to kind of tread water, or even like maybe try to make a little bit of a comeback playing showdown golf and stuff like that. So I like that. When it comes to betting, if you don't win, you lose. Your Pendrith ticket, my Pendrith ticket, like, we're the first to lose. Yeah, you can literally burn it. Like, you don't get any sort of return from it, which is why DraftKings is nice. I don't know if you guys know about Jock Market out there, which is nice because you get a little bit of return if your guy does well. So those are the things that I kind of like, which is why I'm more of a DraftKings player than an overall bettor. Nowadays, I used to be a degenerate bettor and bet on everything, but I've calmed that down, and I've switched to mainly focusing on DraftKings, where even on a bad week, you'd lose a little bit, and you rarely ever go busto when it comes to DraftKings, so that's always nice. So yeah, man, Wyndham, last week of the regular season, we're excited. I like Wyndham. I like this course, Sedgefield Country Club. It's a really nice course. I'll let you talk about the course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those few tournaments that we have every year where at least it feels like, and the metrics support year over year, like when you look at the leaderboard, that course history does matter, right? Like, this place is one of the few places you've heard Kevin Kisner say over and over again, there's like 5 tournaments a year he can win. This is one of those tournaments. It's one of those where you don't need to be long off the tee. It's, par 70, it's 7,100 yards. Most of the par 4s are short. The par 5s are scoreable. It's got shorter par 3s. And it really brings into play a lot of guys that we don't typically see have a chance at winning. The other thing that it does is it mitigates the advantage for bombers off the tee. Like, you've got to be accurate here to put yourself in position. It's like your traditional Donald Ross course, where being and having the right angles into greens is more important than being close proximity wise to the green. So you're going to see guys that are going to play a lot of 3-woods and irons and hybrids off the tees to put themselves in position to be able to make really good approach shots into these greens. The design of this course, like I said, Donald Ross really promotes and tries to get guys to focus on hitting fairways and positional golf. Kevin Kisner was the winner last year. Pretty amazing. Like, it's funny when you go back and revisit some of these tournaments, you forget like how everything played out. This was a 6-man tournament and should have been a 7-man tournament. And honest to God, Russell Henley should have ran away with this tournament. Like, you want to talk about a wagon? Like, he was absolutely dominating this tournament through 10 holes on Sunday and then absolutely grenaded, fell apart on the back nine.
It's Russell Henley. What do you expect?
And then missed a 3-foot putt to get into the playoff to be the seventh guy in.
Yeah.
And even after that was said and done, like Adam Scott could have made a putt to win.
Yeah, he had a 4-foot, he had like a 5-footer to win the tournament, and he missed it.
Yeah, so the way it plays out is Kisner actually is the guy that walks away after both Scott and Henley basically can't close the door and get it done. But getting back to this year and the things, I went back and looked at my model. I tweaked some things a little bit. Kisner rated really high despite the fact that he had come in basically dog crap form. He rated out really well in the key stats, and obviously he has course history. We talked about that, but approach, fairways game, short game with a little bit of a skew towards Bermuda. This is a full Bermuda course from tee to green, all Bermuda grass. Like we mentioned, most of the par fours are less than 450 yards. There are 8 of them altogether. So guys who score well in that range on those types of holes, very important. And then proximity. I mean, dude, we're talking wedges into greens, and you want guys to be able to be prolific from that distance from 125 to 175. And then, of course, birdies are better. Last year was the first time that we didn't see this tournament basically produce a winner at plus, or I should say negative 20 or greater versus par. A lot of it had to do with the weather, right? We had some weather delays that happened on Thursday and Friday that kind of condensed things and changed the conditions of the course and obviously affected scoring. But typically you need to be able to go low and you need to be able to rack up birdies and eagles pretty quickly. And like you said, dude, this is a good tournament. Like it's fun to watch and you get to see guys you don't normally see contend this week.
Yeah, I like this course, and it's a little bit more challenging than Detroit from last week. And I think it's like, I think it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's similar to TPC Twin Cities from 2 weeks ago because there's not that much water on this course, but there is some water on this course. Yeah, I mean, overall it's a birdie fest, and you just got to make putts, and it's not that long of a course, so it's a course like you said where Kevin Kisner's and Russell Henley's, these short hitters that are good with their wedges, can play well, man. But this I'll tell you something, man. This tournament has broken my heart in the past, like big time. And we're not talking
a ticket last year, so dude, I mean, I was so pissed off. 2
years ago, I had one of the biggest Siwoo Kim tickets ever, and like I forget what hole it is, but there's this hole where there's like a big creek that runs in the middle of the fairway, and somehow inexplicably on Sunday, for some reason, he decides that he's going to hit driver, and he drives it right into the green, makes like double right into the water in the middle of the fairway instead of like laying up before the water, makes like double or triple, and then he makes a little run to come back and can't win. So that, and then I also had the CT Pan out of bounds on 18 a few years ago when I had a CT Pan ticket on it. Man, this tournament has broken my heart in the past with some big tickets, and hopefully we can change that around. Maybe the law of averages will work in our favor this week, like they've been working in Tony Finau's favor the last couple of weeks, and maybe we can get across a winner across the finish line this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's to your point, there are a number of guys, Siwoo, Webb, Kiz, that just have phenomenal course history here. And it doesn't seem to matter how they're coming in from a form perspective. They just love to play here. There's been a viral post on Twitter on multiple channels with Siwoo saying this is his favorite tournament, favorite course of all the PGA courses that he plays. Yep. So, again, there's a lot to take in, but why don't we start at the top of the board? We've got Will Z, Webb, Lowry, Im, and Horschel. Typically when we talk about the Wyndham, it's do you Webb or do you not Webb? And I think for a lot of people, because of where Webb is right now, I think a lot of people are going to opt out on him this week because his form hasn't been very good. The one thing that you mentioned is that, last week we had a Donald Ross designed course, but bogey really wasn't a real score, right? Like not too many people were throwing bogeys out there. Like a par felt like a bogey at this course. Like bogey is a real thing. Like you mentioned it, Siwoo's, shot on whatever it was. And then CT Pan going out of bounds on 18. Like you can go astray, and bogey and double and triple are live numbers here. And that just wasn't a real thing last week. So, I think it's important to understand that you probably want a guy who's hitting the ball fairly well. Webb has just not been very good at late, but again, it's really hard to argue with his results here. I mean, the guy's, I think, got 5 top fives or 4 top fives in the last 5 years. I think he's only missed a cut here once, but he's also never won here before.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. And if we're reading into the narrative, like we talked about, where the best players are showing up and winning, I mean, it feels like Zalatoris or Lowry is who you should go with here.
Yeah, man. I was gonna come on the show tonight and talk about how I'm gonna be a big boy and fade Webb Simpson and be like, oh man, he's gonna be, he's gonna be chalky and all this stuff. And then I got literally like, I opened the Monday DraftKings ownership projections 10 minutes before the show started, and I just literally got shocked to my system, like a shock to my system, when I saw Webb Simpson is going to be the lowest owned player in this field, in this range right here. And he's coming in sub 10%. So I'm going to change my tune on that, and I'm going to play Webb now, because sub 10% Webb Simpson, I'm just going to risk it. He hasn't been great. We know that. I understand that. But, I mean, he literally named his daughter after this championship. So we know he loves this course. And if those ownership projections stay true, that is a big if. He might gain steam later in the week. I don't know. But as of right now, if we're going to get a sub 10% Webb Simpson, I'm going to play him. There's just no chance in hell. I fade that. I'm not going to fade a low owned Webb Simpson at the Wyndham Championship. I'm just not. I just don't have it in my guts to do it. If he was chalky and if he gains a lot of steam and his ownership projection goes up, then I'll be like, okay, he sucks this week. He sucks. He's been sucking recently. I'll fade it. So as of right now, I'm in on Webb. I'll play him in DraftKings. The other guy I like up here, surprisingly, and I just like never play him just because I hate him so much. I like literally can't stand his face. Is Billy Ho, man. He's been really good at this tournament. A second place finish a couple years ago, sixth place finish a couple of years before a year before that.
Yeah, and second place he got walked by Jim Herman at the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just an outlier kind of event. So he should have won that event. And he won the Memorial a few weeks ago. He's been playing pretty decently recently. Played all right at the Open. He's had a couple weeks off now after the Open. He's kind of regrouped, acclimated back to American time. He's coming in medium ownership. The chalky guys here are going to be Sung Jae and Shane Lowry right in the middle. So pivot wise, I don't mind ownership leverage with Webb Simpson and Billy Horschel here. And that just literally, it makes me vomit in my mouth a little bit to say that both of those names this week. But I think from a game theory aspect, it's a good call for both of those guys. Webb and Billy Ho have been phenomenal course history here, and yeah, why not?
I mean, I can't argue much with what you said there. I mean, I think the big thing for me is that the pivots or the options outside of those two guys, like for me, there's again, Shane Lowry is probably the best guy who hasn't won this year. And you could make the same argument around Will Zalatoris, right? Like those two guys are the best two players that haven't actually won a tournament this year. And I just don't know. You know, the same thing we talked about with with Will last week is, can he score enough to contend? And what you saw is he couldn't hit enough putts, right? Like he could not make enough like 7 to 15 footers for birdie to put himself in contention in a scoring fest. And this is setting up to basically be the same way, where you're going to have guys that are going to shoot 18 to 22 under. And it's very difficult for me to envision a tournament where he putts well enough to get to that level. So for me, it almost feels like an auto cross off with Will Z. The other guy, Lowry here, I think is interesting, but it's been a while since we've seen him. He's been playing inarguably his best golf, his ball striking, especially his approach and off the tee numbers are the best of his career this year. But, I don't know. I can't get there from a betting perspective. And to your point about Horschel and Webb Simpson, who I think are going to carry much less ownership than him, it feels like if you're going to go anywhere and I guess try to play some game theory, why not do it at the top of the board with quote unquote your best options, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Shane Lowry would be a tough fade. I mean, I haven't decided what I want to do with him yet. He's more of a bubble boy for me. I'm going to fade Will Z at the top. I really don't like him in Birdie Fest. I'd much rather play him next week at FedEx, where it's a little bit of a tougher course, or the week after that at the BMW and stuff like that, where it's tougher courses. So I think I'd rather play Zalatoris then, and his price is going to be lower because all the big boys are coming back next week for the playoffs. So at the top of the board here, Will Zalatoris, I think it's a cross off for me. He played well last week in spurts at a Birdie Fest. I'm not really sure. What did he finish last week? He ended up finishing 20th at a birdie fest. So
Not bad.
yeah, but you can't get a 20th out of a 10-9 golfer. So that's just not good
that's
enough.
zero
Yeah.
return.
Yeah. So I'm going to cross off Will Z, and I haven't decided. I'm going to play Webb. I'm going to play Billy Horschel. And I haven't decided between Lowry and M. I think M is the better suitor for this course just because we like him on Bermuda. We like him in short tracks like this. He has great history here, a 24th and 9th and a 6th the last 3 years. So I'm deciding between those two, but right now on Monday evening, Sung Jae is coming in way higher owned than Shane Lowry. So maybe Lowry's going to be my play there. But if those ownerships flatten out a little bit, I might be leaning more towards Sung Jae M. And like I said earlier, I will write up, what I'm going to be writing, what I'm end up doing on Discord. So stay tuned for that article I write up on Wednesday. So which will decide who I'm going to go between those two guys. So those are like my bubble choices there. Webb, Simpson, Horschel, I'll definitely be playing up here.
Yeah, Im, who you mentioned, it's interesting. Like if you look and take a deeper dive on the metrics, basically since April in the Masters, he had been gaining, basically 5 to 14 strokes versus the field. He quietly finished T2 at the 3M, which was probably the best tournament that he has played this year. He never really was in contention, had an unbelievable, fantastic Sunday, and there were a bunch of guys that fell back, but he was never in contention for catching Tony Finau. But he's basically there at the 3M and then previously at the Memorial, where the last two gains on the putting greens that he had. And to your point, he is a much better putter on Bermuda than he is anywhere else. So if I'm going to take a chance on Sung Jae, hoping that putter flips, it's going to be on a Bermuda track. And like we said, this is your prototypical Bermuda track. And I don't know what it is, dude, but it feels like the South Koreans play really well here at Wyndham. Siwoo. There seems like there's a lot going into this. I like the M narrative, but I agree with you. It's going to come down for me to ownership between Lowry and him. But I'm definitely in on Webb, and I'm still flipping a coin on Horschel, and it has more to do just, I think, what most people are thinking through, and what you kind of mentioned off the hop is most people just don't like Billy Horschel. He's tough to play because he's just not very likable, which is a stupid reason not to play a guy, but it does impact ownership.
Yeah, and this has to be the highest he's been priced all year, right? 10-3.
Oh yeah,
I can't ever remember him being priced in the 10,000. So that's a tough pill to swallow for Billy Ho, and I think that's going to keep his ownership down. And him and Webb are going to be the two lowest owned guys in this range. I don't mind going to them just as a pure game theory aspect. But I do have a trivia question for you since you mentioned it earlier. You said that Will Zalatoris and Shane Lowry are the two best players this year without a win, but in the FedEx Cup standings, since we're coming into playoffs into the FedEx Cup playoffs next week, there's one guy in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup playoffs standings right now that doesn't have a win, and neither of them are Will Zalatoris or Shane Lowry. Can you name that guy?
I can, just because I looked at the FedEx Cup playoffs before the show, so that would be unfair of me. But it is pretty interesting.
Yeah, Cam Young, man, he's been so solid all year with I think he has like 7 top 3 finishes or something like that. He hasn't been got across the finish line. So you say Will Z, Shane Lowry. I say Cam Young, best player this year without a win, rookie of the year.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely the front runner. There's other guys in that conversation. One of the guys who I thought was the head and shoulders leader in that, but we haven't seen him play very much lately, is Mito Pereira, right? Yeah. Like we basically since the collapse at the PGA has been MIA. Yeah. But Mito's probably in on the FedEx Cup playoffs, and if he or like Tagala, or I'm trying to think, there was Davis Riley, right? Mm-hmm. If any one of those 3 guys somehow like
win the FedEx,
their name's squarely in the ring, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Cam Young is right now, I would definitely say rookie of the year. But if one of those 3 guys is able to win one of those FedEx Cup events in big boy fields, I think you can make an argument that they deserve rookie of the year.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I like the what you just said about all the other guys, but yeah, let's get back to this tournament and drop down into the 9Ks. Go ahead, let's talk about the 9Ks.
Yeah, again, you've got some good players here. We haven't seen Connors in a while. Terrell Hatton, who you would think sets up well. Again, you think Terrell Hatton, you think kind of gritty, but you wonder some of the same narrative that we mentioned about Zalatoris is, can he win in basically a birdie fest? Because you think of him as kind of, around the green and tough courses and things like that. Varner, who we haven't seen for a while, all of the live rumors and the fact that this is basically his home course. So there's some narrative there. And of course, Adam Scott, there's been quietly some steam brewing around Adam Scott. He almost won here last year. Should have won here last year before gagging away the putt. There's a number of options here. It feels like Russell Henley is going to be the guy that's going to carry the most ownership.
That's what it's looking like right now. It looks like it's a tie between him and Connors right at the top. So for me, if I'm going to fade the heavy owned guys at the very top of the board, I'm going to eat the chalk with Russell Henley here. He's my favorite play on the entire slate. He's probably my pick to win, like my one and done when it comes to picking guys to win. So Russell Henley, 9,800. I'm all in on him this week. He played really well last week. I played him in a lot of Showdown last week. I didn't have him on my main slate last week, but when I saw how well he played in round one, I decided to go to him in Showdown, and he definitely paid off for me. This is a course that he is absolutely phenomenal at. He has a 7th place and 9th place finish here the last 2 years, but his 7th place finish last year was 1 stroke out of the playoffs, so it's whatever. He should have, like you said, won this tournament. So I will go to Russell Henley here. So if there's a chalk bomb up here between the two, I'd rather go to Henley over Connors. And then the other guy in this range for me is probably going to be Adam Scott. I mean, we talked about it last week where it's like, why is Adam Scott playing the Rocket Mortgage Classic? We have no idea. I had that same question last year when he played the Wyndham Championship. Like, why is Adam Scott playing the Wyndham Championship when this guy, all he does for the last 5 to 10 years is play big events, play tournaments like the Genesis and the Memorial and major championships and stuff like that. That's all he's really done for a really long time. So why is he playing these little events? Probably to get some FedEx points in time for the playoffs. I don't know, but seems like he's doing pretty well in these birdie fests. He played well last week. He ended up with a 37th place finish, but I think he had one bad round or something like that. But
he had a great I want to say Friday and Sunday and a terrible Saturday. I think same thing happened to Lee Hodges. He died on Saturday.
I don't want to talk about Lee Hodges on Saturday. Shot 5 over when everyone else shot under par. But anyways, Adam Scott, I don't mind the form coming in. He played well here last year, obviously, so we know he can contend. He likes his course. So I think for me, my 2 favorite plays here are going to be Russell Henley and Adam Scott. I'm going to fade Corey Connors here just from an ownership perspective. I do like Connors here. I think the course suits him well, but I'd rather go to Henley. And then between Hatton and Varner, I don't know, man. I never know what to do with Tyrrell Hatton. I played him at the Open. He finished 11th. I liked him that week, but now we're back at a course where I don't know. Tyrrell Hatton, I guess, we kind of like him more at difficult tracks a little bit. HV3. He has a mixed bag of finishes here, a 57th last year, a 7th the year before, a 10th place finish in the past. He's coming in with all right form. I think if I was going to pick between those 2 bubble boys for me, I think I'd rather lean HV3 just because, like you said, this is his home kind of course. He is from this Carolina area. He likes this course. He always talks about how he always has a lot of family that comes to this event. He has to buy a lot of tickets and do that stuff for family that wants to come watch him play. So, I think I'd rather lean Varner over Hatton. So I think for me, it's going to be 1 Henley, 2 Scott, and then 3 Varner.
Yeah, for me, it's Henley and Connors. I'm going to be chalky here. It's hard to argue with Henley's history and Connors' form, and then the pedigree, right? Where has Connors played well? What are the things that he does well? And you just hope that the putter flips. But I think Henley's probably the heavier lean for me. And then I like Connors. HV3 is interesting, especially here. If you go back and do a deeper dive on his stats, it's really been putting. He's been terrible on the greens here. That's really what has held him back by and large in his career from winning, but especially here at the Wyndham, even in those finishes where he finished 7th and 10th, he really struggled on the greens. So, we haven't seen him for some time. You just got to hope maybe he figures it out. You wonder if maybe the fact that he's got so many other distractions happening, so many people that want to come see him. He's got to get tickets for people. The team and the support group is much larger in this venue than it is in normal weeks. And that can be difficult. I again, not that I'm saying I'm anything like HV3, but when I played and I would go to places when I'd come back to Southern California and I'd have 100 ticket requests for folks to come watch games, that was much harder to manage than when I was in Florida and playing a football game and nobody cared that I was playing in that game, right? I could just focus on that. So you got to think that plays into it. The guy here that I'm probably going to stay away from, and it's kind of scary because I love Terrell Hatton, but I'm not going to play him this week because I don't know what to expect. But for me, Henley, Connors, and then Scott's going to be a bet. Like he will be on my card. I think he's been playing very, very well. And the only thing that is a little bit scary is as of late, like basically the last 2 rounds, we've seen him return to kind of old school Adam Scott, where it's like ball striking, can't putt. And before that, the prior 4 or 5 tournaments previously, we'd seen him gain like 6 strokes putting, 7 strokes putting, 2 strokes putting. All of a sudden he's back to losing 2 or 3 strokes putting versus the field. So you got to hope that you're getting whatever that version of Adam Scott was a few months ago and not the one we've seen the last 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing I just thought about is Hatton. I'm out on Hatton. I just wrote about it in the chat right there. I just realized he's never played here before, and I think there was enough water and OB at this course to really tilt Hatton. And you just need a little bit to tilt Hatton. Like he can literally hit one bad shot OB and he's done. Like his tournament is done. He gets so mad.
He's so much fun to watch. I think that's why I like him, because it's so much fun.
He's very entertaining to watch. I do agree with that. He's like he's the more entertaining version of like John Rahm, who John Rahm gets pissed off and he's just like annoying when he gets pissed off and he like curses all the time. Hatton is like exciting to watch when he gets pissed off. So, but yeah, I think just first time here at seeing this course, I just think like this course, even though it's kind of an easy birdie fest kind of course, there's still enough like here to get Hatton in trouble. And if he hits one OB, that's his tournament, man. He's just done after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. He runs so hot and so cold. I think it's the English accent. I think that's why we like him, right? Like, when Billy Horschel basically does the same thing, but it's like, it's just annoying. But you throw a British accent on there and all of a sudden it's like quirky and funny. And it's like, hey, let's root for Terrell Hatton. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, true.
All right, dropping down to the 8Ks. We've got some really good options, course history horses, and some guys coming in with some hot form. Here's the question. Your boy, my boy, we've been riding him. Sorry, I jumped screens here, but Tom Kim, man, Jahoon Kim. I mean, can we get away from him? He's just playing so good. And it just seems like, it feels like when we saw Sungjae Im burst onto the scene, right? It was like, just play him. Like he plays every week. He plays great. He's a ball striking machine. He has spike putting days. Like just keep playing him. Are we at that same place with Tom Kim?
Yeah. Keep playing him, man. Lock and load. He's incredible, man. His swing is beautiful. He knows what he's doing around how to manage a golf course. He's great in these birdie fests. He played amazing last week. I'm going to keep riding it. People are like, oh, he's going to get tired. He's played like 6 weeks in a row and blah, 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 blah. Man, he's 20,
like 19 years old.
He's like 20 years old. This guy literally plays golf every day of his life. He is ready to play. I guarantee you, as soon as he finished up at the Rocket Mortgage, he immediately got on a plane to Greensboro and he played golf today. I bet you he played golf at Wyndham today. So I'm in on Tom Kim. But the problem for me in this range is I like every single guy in this range, man. This is the toughest range for me because I like every single guy. The only guys that I don't like, that I don't have a problem fading, are Seabez and Rose. Those are the 2 names that I'm just like, okay, whatever. I don't really care to play them. I don't mind them, but I don't care to really play them. But every other single guy in this range, McCarthy, Kim, Kisner, Kim, Pendrith, Harmon, Poston, Wise, Riley. I like every single one of those plays in this range. All my lineups are going to be peppering this range. I'm going to be overweight on a lot of guys in this range. If I was to rank these plays, I'd probably say Siwoo number 1. Siwoo's been a horses for courses kind of guy here. He played really well last week. He had a 14th. He's coming in off a 14th to the 15th place finish at the Open. His last 3 years have been 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. So I think Siwoo is going to be my number 1 play here. My number 2 play here, just because he had a really bad missed cut last week, and I think it's going to bring his ownership down a lot, is going to be Denny McCarthy. He has really good history here. I think, let's see what he has, a 15th, a 9th, and a 22nd here. He's always talked about how he loves putting on these Bermuda greens. Yep. So his ownership is going to take a hit because of his bad performance last week. So I don't mind that, especially because right before his missed cut last week, he had a 6th place finish, a 7th place finish after that in his last few times out. So he's been on fire this year. I don't mind going back to Denny in kind of a flop-like situation. And then my 3rd favorite play here, I'll say Tom Kim. I think Tom Kim is probably my 3rd favorite play here. And yeah, in the chat here, Mike, you're saying Davis Riley's broken your heart 2 weeks in a row. Yes, I will go back to Davis Riley here. I think that's another situation where the ownership's going to be down. I'm looking at about 10% right now for Davis Riley. I think this is a good course for him just because we're back into the area of the country where I think Davis Riley thrives at, which are Bermuda greens on the East Coast, because he is an Alabama boy. So I think Davis Riley, after 2 missed cuts last week, he needs some FedEx Cup points to shoot him up in the standings. So I don't mind playing Davis Riley this week. He's not one of my top 3 plays here, but I definitely will be at least even weight to the field with Davis Riley this week. So I'll go ahead and say my 3 favorite plays here are Siwoo, Denny McCarthy, and Tom Kim. But like I said earlier, I really like everyone else in this range except for Seabez and Rose. Kisner, the defending champion, he has great history here also. I don't mind going to him. So yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to know what to do in this range. I think I'm going to play almost every single guy in this range.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a common theme. And I think because of that, you're going to see ownership kind of flatten out a little bit in this area. There's so many options. Digging into Davis Riley a little bit deeper, just looking at basically what's happened to him since the Travelers, it's the putter. He's lost over the last 3 tournaments, basically 10 strokes putting combined in those 3 tournaments. Yeah, we did see the approach numbers fall off last week. It could have been that he's just a little bit off, but I do think it's one of those areas where you might be able to buy back in low. Again, 8K doesn't seem like a massive discount for Davis Riley, but in this field it is. When you're getting guys like Siwoo and Tom Kim that are in the mid to high 8s and Davis Riley is down at 8,000, it's a bargain for him. And you just, to your point, got to hope that he's back in Bermuda. He's back at a place where he's comfortable, and we get the better version of him back this week. I love Siwoo. He's a bet. He's going to be a staple for me. I just can never get to Kisner. The guy that I'm kind of scratching my head about a little bit, well, the 2 guys that I'm scratching my head about are Aaron Wise and Taylor Pendrith. I want to ride the Pendrith train, but I worry that you're going to need more accuracy and better approach play this week than he had last week. And I just don't know if that's Pendrith's pedigree. And then Aaron Wise, like, he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind for a little while. And he's typically just massively owned regardless of what the field looks like. And I don't know, I have an Aaron Wise problem. It's been well documented in these shows multiple times, but I'll probably end up using a healthy bit of Aaron Wise this week, especially if I can get him at somewhat of an ownership discount. And again, this is a Monday, so who knows? Come Wednesday, he could be the most heavily owned guy in this range, and I'm out.
I like Aaron Wise too. I don't know exactly what the ownership's going to do over the course of the next few days. Right now, I'm seeing Siwoo as the most highestly owned guys, but then after that, it's pretty flat with everyone else in this range. So maybe some late steam will come off of Siwoo and everything will flatten out. And if that happens, then just play who you like. Honestly, like if everything flattens out in this range, like we think it's going to do, like everyone can't be like 20% owned in this range, obviously. Yep. So it's going to be pretty flat. So if it gets to that point, then just play who you like and pick your spots and go overweight on who you think is going to be the best, which is going to be the tough decision here. Mike, you said in the chat, I'm expecting to see Kim on the betting cards. Man, he didn't make my betting card, unfortunately. I don't think he can win, but he's a solid DraftKings play, I think. If he wins, then
I have a Kim on my card, but it's not Tom Kim.
Yeah, I have the other Kim on my card also. So yeah, we're going Siwoo this week.
Absolutely. Dropping down to the 7Ks, a number of options. Oddly enough, dude, like I was shocked in my model when I ran all the numbers that Mark Hubbard was number 1 in my model. Blew me away. Like I readjusted my model like 3 or 4 times when that happened, and every time just coming Mark Hubbard. I'm like, obviously I'm doing something wrong, but Mark Hubbard is number 1 in the model this week. A guy that I love actually right below him, and a guy we haven't seen in a while, basically since the Open, Keith Mitchell. Like Bermuda greens, it's like Sam Burns, Keith Mitchell. On Bermuda, you just play him. But there's some really good options in this range. Some guys that are coming in with some great form and guys that are more course like history guys. But give me 2 or 3 guys you really like here, like your guys above 7K, 7,500, and the guys below 75 you like.
Okay. First off, Hubbard, like he definitely deserved to miss that cut after making that whack ass hole in one last week, right?
Dude.
Like, did you see that?
Of course. I mean, it was like he had this reaction and it went in, and it was funny. It was very
Yeah,
funny. But
I don't know how you missed the cut after making a hole in one, but he somehow did it. But anyways, I'm out on Hubbard. I get that he's number one overall in your model. I'd rather go to Scott Stallings right below him.
Stallings been playing great, man.
Playing so good. But yeah, above 7,500, I'm going to go with my plays are going to be Adam Svensson, Alex Smalley, Chris Gotterup, and Scott Stallings. Those are the four guys I like, 7,500 and above. Svensson's been playing great as of recently. This is a course where I think he rates out really well. Alex Smalley, this is his home course. He has had good history here in the past. Not CTP. What did I say? Oh, yeah. Chris Gotterup. Obviously, this is a guy that I've been on every week. That he's been on tour and he's been, paying off his price tag week in, week out. I think except maybe 1 week he had a miscut, but that's okay. And then Scott Stallings, he's been playing great. So why not ride the form? I think he has. Let's see here. Scott Stallings is coming in off of a 10th, a 4th, and an 8th his last 3 times out. Mixed bag of results at this tournament, but I will ride the hot form for Scott Stallings into this event. Below 7,500, I like CT Pan, who broke my heart here a few years ago, but he has good history here. He's been playing pretty decently recently. He had a bad miscut last week, so I think it's a good spot to get back on him. He'll be very, very low owned. Below him, I like, I like Harris English, who has good course history here. I like Tyler Duncan, who has good course history here. Lee Hodges, who's been playing great recently. Vince Whaley, he's actually kind of been showing some form recently. I think he finished 17th last week at the Rocket Mortgage. And that's it. Callum Tarrant at 7,300. I could potentially play. He's been playing pretty good recently. Oh, yep. One guy who really crushed for me on Sunday on my showdown lineup was Taylor Moore. Man, this guy has been played absolutely phenomenal on the weekend last week. 7,300. I think he shot back to back 6 or 7 unders last week, which really shot him up the leaderboard. I think he ended up finishing 4th or 5th at the Rocket Mortgage. So Taylor Moore at 7,300. I like that. But overall, in the entire 7K range, I think my favorite play is going to be Adam Svensson. My second favorite play is going to be Scott Stallings. And then my third favorite play, I'll give you something below 7,500. We'll say, I don't know, man. Who do we like? Who was my favorite play before below 7,500? I don't know, man. I'll just say Taylor Moore just because he was hot last week on the weekend, so I'll ride that for him in.
Yeah, I like the Taylor Moore call. So Moore and Taram, Colin Taram, those are the two guys that I like probably the most below 7,500. I also like T. Dunks and Lee Hodges. I'm going to go back to Grayson Sigg, even though we broke my heart last week. So I'm interested in those guys below 75. Above 75, you named basically the cream of the crop, but the other guy that I'll throw in there just because he'll probably carry low ownership, and he's a guy that plays well here. He plays well at RBC Heritage, and that's Adam Long.
Long I thought you were going to say Sebastian Munoz. I was like, no shit.
I mean, dude, Seabass, the Seabass is I don't even put him on the card, but I'm betting on him.
Yeah.
So. But Adam Long, I think, is a name that folks will forget. And when he pops up on the leaderboard again, people are like, oh, yeah, he always plays well here. But I think Long is another guy that you can get at drastically reduced ownership, and you get a good amount of missed cut or made cut equity with him. So he would be the only guy I'd add in there to the bevy of guys that you kind of listed off above 7,500.
That's a good price for Adam Long, 7,700. Yep. He was 8,700 or something at the John Deere a few weeks ago, and he has 4 straight top 25 finishes on tour. So a price decrease for Adam Long. I'll go ahead. I like that. Good call on Adam Long. He will be in my player pool for sure.
Yeah, he's just he's one of those guys. I mean, he's a fairway finder. He typically does very, very well on approach. And the putter, man, he has spike putting weeks. I mean, you go back to the Travelers, which was, what was that, a little over a month ago? The dude gained almost 10 strokes putting on the green. So, again, all you need to do is get a hot putter here, and Adam Long is one of those guys that can do it. I don't like the odds betting-wise when I looked at it. I think he was 45 or 50, so I was like, that's terrible. But to your point, I love the number at 7,700 because it feels like I'm getting a discount on that.
What are your thoughts on Harris English? Just because he has nothing but top 30, top 40 finishes here. Coming in off of 2 missed cuts, coming in off of injury. Is it a spot you can buy back in on Harris English or no?
Here's the problem. I came on this show last week and said Harris English and Ricky Fowler were sneaky plays. They were both dog crap last week. So
Yeah.
I can't in good conscience 2 weeks in a row recommend Harris English. He just it hasn't been good, obviously. He's back-to-back missed cuts. He played okay at the Scottish. He played pretty good at the Travelers, but at the Travelers it was basically all putting. Like the ball striking was terrible. And when he was making his run last year, it was like ball striking phenom, and he would have these spike putting weeks, and we haven't seen the ball striking at all since he's been back from injury. So for me, I'm not going to put that out there into the ether 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. He did make my betting card, so I think I'm just gonna buy in on Harris English as a bet just because he has win equity.
Yeah,
we know he can win on tour. But at 7,300, I actually like those other guys right there, Spawn, Taryn, and Moore, who all played well last week instead of English. And there's just no way in hell I'm going to play Nick Hardy after what he did to me last week. So I think I like the other 3 guys there instead of those 2 guys for DraftKings purposes at 7,300. But English did make my betting card just because I got him at like
long-term pedigree.
Yeah, 150 to 1 or something like that, and that's a pretty good price on someone who can easily win at this course.
Yep. The other guy that's there that you kind of ran through those guys in the $7,300 range, but right below them, you've got like Patrick Rogers and Gim and Sink, who have had, they've been on leaderboards here the last few weeks. Russell Knox is kind of a forgotten guy. He's kind of been, finishing in the 30s, 40s, 50s. He's got a couple missed cuts, nothing great. But when you think about like what this course demands, and obviously, if we get some weather and wind this week, Russell Knox could pop up because you don't have to be long. You don't have to be crazy. You just got to be able to put it in the fairway. And again, if he gets a good putting week, I could see him being there. But the biggest thing for me is just like ownership. Like no one's going to play Russell Knox this week.
Yeah. I think instead of Russell Knox, I think I might go back to Steven Yeager at 7,100.
Yeager bombs, huh?
Yeah, man. He played good last week. I think he gained like 10 strokes on approach or something like that. I'm trying to see where is Steven Yeager on the. So he's 100th on the FedEx Cup standing. So
he's in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's in the playoffs. So he still needs a good showing to get him. I think that second or third place finish last week or whatever he finished. I think that shot him up into the playoffs. So he needs to at least still make the cut here. We never really talked about that earlier in the show. This is a very motivational week for guys to get into the playoffs because of course if they get into the playoffs they get to keep their card for another year. So. If we're looking at guys that are like on the bubble here, so it's top 125, right? They get in next week.
Yep.
Okay, so top 125. So at the on the bubble, we're looking at guys like Tyler Duncan, Schwab, Kazire, Sink, Simpson. So we need a good. That's another reason I think I'm going to play Webb is he needs a good showing here to get into the top 125.
Yep.
Nick Taylor, who we'll get to in a minute. Hadley, who we'll get to in a minute. So I don't mind that call on Stuart Sink because he is literally the bubble boy right now at the 125 spot. Ricky Fowler's at 133. I don't know if this list that I'm looking at. I don't know if this list that's on the PGA Tour website, I don't know if it includes the guys that have, this does include the guys that have gone to live. So those guys are obviously going to get deleted off of the FedEx Cup playoff standing. So I don't really know who the bubble boy is like at the moment. So yeah, but still these guys are still like in that range where they need to play well for motivation this week. So I don't mind the Sink call at 7,200, especially because he needs a good showing to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, you've still got guys like Gooch and Koepka. They're still showing up like on the FedEx playoffs.
Do we have a list with those guys deleted at all? Like, is that anywhere?
We don't, but if you go in and remove a few of them, like I don't see Dustin Johnson on the list. Let's take a look here. Quick search here as we're going through this live. So yeah, I don't see Dustin Johnson, but I do see Taylor Gooch still listed on there. So
actually, you know what? I found a better list. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so the actual bubble boy is 125th is Austin Smotherman, and then Matt Wallace at 125. So the guys below him that need good weeks to get in: Max McGreevy, Danny Willett, Justin Lower, Nick Hardy, F him man, Cam Champ.
I like Lower this week, dude. I think he's got a shot.
Is Cam Champ playing this week? Did we talk about
He
him?
is.
Where
He
is
is
he?
playing this week. Cam Champ is at $7,500.
So he played well last week. He's 2 weeks in a row where he's played pretty decently at Birdie Fest. Yeah, man, he needs a good showing to get into the playoffs. So he's 130th right now on the list. So yeah, I could maybe play some Cam Champ. Why not?
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about Champ is like his distance is his biggest weapon, and that is just totally mitigated here. I know we say we like him at shorter courses, but I wonder again. I just wonder if maybe this is the kind of track where accuracy is such a premium that you just I don't know that you just can't play him. He's only got one time that he's played and he missed the cut pretty badly.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost like almost 6 strokes putting. He lost almost 5 strokes tee to green. He was just god awful. And it's definitely the injuries have been really tough for him.
That doesn't mean anything to me. Cam Champ can literally miss the cut 3 years in a row at a course and then play well. So
this is true.
I don't mind him. His last 2 events, he's 20th and 16th. I think I'm talking myself into a little bit of Cam Champ. Nothing heavy or anything like that, but I think I could sprinkle him in some lineups. He did play really well on Sunday last week, so maybe we can ride that heater into this week. So, yeah, we want to go down to the 6K range.
Let's do it, man. Diving into the dumpster. Again, there are names here. There is some value. I highlighted a couple, right? Because typically, when you look at the overall ranking, that's going to incorporate not only form and stats, but course history. But I thought I'd highlight a few of the guys that have very good course history that maybe not show up in the actual rankings. Sloan and Wawrinski are probably the 2 biggest examples of that. Both of those guys have phenomenal course history here. Sloan, I think, was in that 6-man playoff here a year ago. Sabatini's played well here. I think his last 6 attempts here, he's got 3 or 4 top 10 finishes. He's also got some missed cuts sprinkled in there. Gligic, who was, God, dude, he was one of those guys along with Sig that just, they annihilated me last year. He was on a great little run, and now, he basically blew up last week. So I don't know what version you're getting of him, but, he's interesting. And then Armour's another guy. Like, his course history here is very good. And you think about what Ryan Armour does. He hits fairways, is the most accurate player with a driver on tour. So, maybe Ryan Armour at 6,700. I don't know, dude. I mentioned Justin Lower when we were kind of in the 7Ks. I could see going back to him again, but who do you like here above kind of that 65? And then who do you like below 65?
Is it Lower or Lauer?
I have no idea. Look, it's spelled Lower, but it might be Lauer.
Okay. I like
Hadley here, to be honest with you.
I like Hadley and Buckley at the top, 6,900. They're both guys who I think can play well at this course. Hadley, obviously, last year he had the famous hole-in-one to make the FedEx Cup playoffs, which was sick. So I like Hadley. He's been playing pretty well recently. Buckley played really well on the weekend last week. With Buckley, it's always his putter. We really don't really know what to expect with this putter, but coming in, with good form, I don't mind going to some Hayden Buckley. I like Hank the Tank. He is, let's see, I just saw his name. He is 139th on the FedEx Cup standing, so he needs a good week to get in, so he doesn't have to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour Finals to keep his card. Other than that, above 6,500, I don't really care too much for any of these names. Schwab, I guess. Nick Taylor, I like at 6,800. He has good course history here. What is his course history here? Let's see. I just saw it. He has a 10th place finish last year, missed cut before that, and then an 8th place the year before that. So pretty good course history for Nick Taylor here. He's coming off of a pretty bad missed cut last week, so not a bad situation to hop back on some Nick Taylor, who's been pretty good to me this year. I guess Ryan Moore has good course history. I'm not playing Ryan Moore. Screw him.
Yeah, we're not playing Ryan Moore.
This might be like a little bit of music to Mike's ears. RCB, he has good history here, 37th and 11th place finishes 2 times out here. He's coming in off of 2 straight made cuts. I don't mind playing some RCB. That's it above 7,500, I believe, or 6,500, I believe. Below 6,500, not many names I could go to. Roger Sloan is probably the only one. Norlander played pretty well on the weekend last week, so maybe some Norlander. But I think besides Roger Sloan and then just taking a stab on Jim Herman at 6,300 just because he won here a couple years ago, maybe like in 2 to 3%. What did I say? RBC, RCB, whatever. RCB, if I can spell. Jim Herman, just because he won here a couple years ago. He's obviously terrible. He's coming in on terrible form, but he's one of those guys that can pop at this course, obviously. Yeah, I don't really got anyone else down here, man. DL3 won here in 2015 as a 50-year-old, not playing him. He did have some interesting comments this week. I don't know if you saw that or not about
No, I didn't.
He said that all the big names on tour should combine forces and boycott the majors if they allow the live guys to play in the majors. So like the names like Rahm and these big names like Rahm and McIlroy and JT, these names, he said that if they boycott the majors, if the majors continue to allow live players in, then the majors will have no choice but to basically ban the live players from playing in the majors, which in essence makes sense, but that's never going to happen. Just there's no way in hell that these guys are going to boycott majors. So yeah, whatever. Luke Donald at 6,200. Obviously, we know what his history is here. Maybe he gets a little bit of a boost this week because he just got named European Ryder Cup team captain, taking the Henrik Stenson's place. I'm not going to play Luke Donald 6,200, but I wouldn't be surprised if his mood's in a little better kind of mood and he could maybe come out and play some good golf this week. But I think below 6,500, the only name I like is Roger Sloan, just because he played well here last year. I got Roger Sloan at 500 to 1, which I think is just a incorrect number. He should not be 500 to 1 at this course, especially given the fact that he, second place finish last year, and then before that he was fine, 31st and a 39th. So 6,300. He's the only guy that down here that I'll play besides Jim Herman, who I'll sprinkle like in 1% of my lineups. So I don't know. Do you have any other names down here that you like?
I think you kind of ran through the guys that I liked. It was Sloan and Warinsky are really the only two guys I like below 6,500. Again, above that, maybe Chase Seifert, Sam Ryder played well last week. I mentioned I actually could see sprinkling Justin Lauer lower into a few lineups. Whoops, sorry about that. Maybe Peter Malnati, who has been playing better here as of late. Again, short hitter, good putter, better on Bermuda than anything else. So maybe sprinkling some Malnati in here. I could probably go back to Lebiota too.
I played a lot of Malnati last week, and he broke my heart. Well, what did he? So he has a mixed bag of results here: 2 miscuts, 2 top 25s, but he had a bad miscut last week. But an 11th and the 30th before that, yeah, I could get back on Malnati. I don't like that. I don't mind that call.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I'm like gonna stake anything on, but again, long-term pedigree, the type of player that he is, the skill set that he has, it feels like that vibes with this type of course.
Yeah.
Not very long, good with wedges. So I think Malnati is a guy I have sprinkled in, and I'm going to go back to Lebiota. I think he's been playing well. Just like Hadley and Sig and a bunch of these guys that were on last week. Like all those guys were chalky. They all missed the cut. They're all back again this week. To your point, they all need to play well to end up in the FedEx Cup. So I think you're going to have a number of those guys bounce back this week. So I like going back to a lot of the names that we mentioned last week. And then, of course, Donald Ross course 2 weeks in a row. So I think all of those things bode well for the guys that may have grenaded last week and taken a lot of 5 or 6s along with them. But I will be going back to a number of those names.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not going to bore you and talk about Zach Johnson. I'm not playing Zach Johnson. No point in getting in there. He played well last week, but
he's been playing well the last few weeks. Zach Johnson has strung together 3 or 4 very good tournaments in a row. I think he's kind of settled into the fact that he doesn't need to do anything that's outside of his comfort zone. He can just kind of hit fairways and play these types of tournaments where you don't need to be very long.
Yeah, we're an hour into the show. Let's move on. Who cares?
I think you and Mike both want to move on. Getting into the bets for the week. I like the discount at Webb at 22. We're used to getting him at like 8 to 1 here, even though he's never won. Yes, the form has not been great, but I like Webb at 22. I like Adam Scott at 28. Siwoo Kim, Aaron Wise, and McCarthy kind of round out my bets for the week. And then Bombs, Sevenson Taryn. the only reason I bet Hubbard is because he was number one on my model. I can't believe I actually did it, but yeah, I'm going to bet him at 100-1. Danny Willett at 175, kind of like the call you made about Harris English playing long-term form, pedigree, those kinds of things. That feels like a big number to me. And then Taylor Moore at 200. I like Taylor Moore at 200. I'm going to use him in DraftKings, so I like that number.
Cool. I like your card. For me, at the top of the board, my main units are going to go towards Henley at 25, Siwoo at 28, Denny at 40, Kisner at 40, and we never talked about JT Poston in our show.
He's been playing great.
Yeah, I like him.
Fantastic.
Past champion at this course. I'll go back to some Poston. Obviously, I hit him a couple weeks ago at John Deere, so I don't mind taking another stab with Poston at 45-1. And then for my bombs this week, I got Svensson at 80. Alex Smalley, who I said this is his home course. He loves this course, obviously, 80-1. Got her up at 100. English, like I said, a little sprinkle at 130. Tyler Duncan at 150. Nick Taylor at 200. Hadley at 200. And the biggest misprice of the week when it comes to betting odds, Roger Sloan at 500-1.
Yeah, Sloan's a good call. I mean, I wish we had the European like each ways because he'd be a great like 8th place each way this week.
Yeah, I don't. So if you can get like a top 20 number on him or something like that, I don't mind that. Or maybe even a top 10. It'll probably be like you're gonna hit a better number, top 10 or top 20 on Roger Sloan than you would like Siwoo or McCarthy or whatever your outright odds on those guys are. So I don't mind a top 10 or top 20 bet on Roger Sloan, but just a little sprinkle on the outright at 500-1 just in case.
God, dude, I jumped in and looked at Poston after you mentioned it because we did not talk about him, and he's been a name that's kind of been popping up on leaderboards here.
Yeah.
Listen to this, like just his results. These are the most JT Poston results going back to the RBC Heritage back in April. 3rd at the Heritage, miscut at the Mexico Open. 9th at the Wells Fargo, miscut at the Charles Schwab. 37th at Memorial, miscut at the Canadian. 2nd at the Travelers, he wins the John Deere, miscut at the Open, and he finishes 11th at the 3M. So it's like either he's in contention or he just totally misses the cut. And the statistics for what he's doing, dude, it is all over the board. Some weeks he's striking the crap out of the ball. Other weeks he's gaining 5 strokes putting. It's just everywhere.
I have a soft spot for JT Poston, so I'm hoping this week is one of those.
You hit him to win at the John Deere, so I fully get that.
So I think I'm hoping this is one of those weeks where he's actually on. I'm going to give him a pass on the miscut at the Open. Obviously, he got in just because he won the John Deere, so he traveled overseas. Now he's back. He's ready to fire it up again here. He played well at the 3M, and I think this is a good spot for him. I think this is a course where is he a Carolina guy? I don't remember, but I think he's from around this area possibly. So yeah, let's fire up some JT Poston.
And again, you look at his course history, miscut. He won the tournament, miscut 50th. Like,
yeah.
I mean, dude, it's just like the guys, you never know what version you're going to get of him to show up. So that's so hard for me to bet on. But hey, you hit him at the John Deere, so I totally get the soft spot for JT Poston.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, right, I think that's going to do it for us. I do want to mention again, we have the amazing promotion happening this week brought to our friends at Auto. Yes, ORTO. That spells Auto to win the Bills-Titans ticket for the Monday night game on September 14th in Buffalo, plus the $100 gift card. Make sure that you first subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia channel, and then you leave a comment. Like I said, ask Rick for dental advice. Ask me why I shaved my head. Anything you want. Talk about your favorite play in the tournament this week. It doesn't matter. Leave a comment, and you will go into the entries for that game. I think this is going to run all month, Rick. I think it goes through the month of August. We'll be collecting these entries. So the more times you comment, the more that you enter, whether it's this show or other shows on the Nickel City Mafia channel, you're going to get more entries. So subscribe and leave comments.
Yep, this is perfect. Perfect little giveaway to right in time for football season. Obviously, me and Chris are doing our first fantasy football show of the year together tomorrow. So please tune in for that. It will be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Mike just said the winner will be announced on 8/28. So you got a few weeks to get your entries in. The other thing we didn't mention is that if you comment on other videos, that we will be airing between now and 8/28. I believe you get multiple entries. If Mike could comment on that and tell me if I said that correctly. So one comment gets you one entry, and if you comment on another video, it gets you another entry. I believe that's correct. If I'm wrong, please let me know, Mike. But yeah, this is a pretty good giveaway. So join the Nickel City Mafia crew, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, join our Discord, please. The link to join our Discord. Yeah, so I was right about that. Subscribe, comment, more entries possible. Yeah, perfect. So keep commenting on our videos. We like to see what you guys have to say. Please please make sure your subscription is public so Mike knows who you are, so you can be entered in the draw. If your subscription is private, we will not enter you in the draw because we don't know who you are. And like I said, join our Discord where we chat about the tournament all weekend. We'll be chatting about fantasy football with draft season right around the corner. And tune in for our show tomorrow. Me and Chris will be on at 6:30 p.m. Pacific talking rookies that you should draft in fantasy football.
I love it. Football's around the corner. We're back talking fantasy football. So tune in tomorrow for Rick and Chris. Good luck this week at the Wyndham, and we will see you guys next week. And of course, Rick, you'll see everybody tomorrow night.
Yeah, let's do it.
Have a good night and good luck this week.